Recipe notes for these old-fashioned apple fritters. All right, today I've got the most amazing homemade donut recipe for you. These are old-fashioned, classic, straightforward apple fritters with just a little bit of a kick. I call them old-fashioned both because they're made in the classic old-fashioned way and also because thanks to a little bourbon and bitters, they taste a little bit like the cocktail, the old-fashioned. So I'm being hilarious and very punny today with this amazing new recipe that I can't wait to tell you a little bit more about. Okay, so I don't usually get into deep frying unless it's absolutely worth it in every way. The food itself needs to be worth the calories because obviously it's a little bit of a splurge as far as your diet goes, but it also needs to be worth the sort of minimal hassle of dealing with and wrangling the oil and all of that. And I can promise you that today's recipe is absolutely worth it in every way. These things are amazing. And really, it all starts with the apple. And I think what apple you use and choose really is up to you. But I worked with Ruby Frost apples from New York State for this post, and they're the perfect apple really for anything because they sit right in the middle of sweet and tart, which is kind of what you want. You get the best of both worlds. They're large and they're very crisp, so they hold up to cooking really well too. So that's what I reached for today's recipe. You'll also notice that I didn't peel my apples before I made my fritters. You absolutely can if that's something that really speaks to you, but it takes a lot of time, and honestly, I like the pop of color, and the peels really cook down and they become very tender. So I think don't waste your time peeling your apples, but that's just me. If you want to peel them, you absolutely can. Another thing I think it's worth noting, anytime you deep fry, the oil you use absolutely matters. This is not the time to use your nice, expensive olive oils or avocado oils. You want a high smoke point, neutral flavored oil like a canola or a vegetable oil for something like this. And you just want to use enough to fully submerge your fritters so that they can kind of dance on top. You don't want it too hot or too cold. And when I say cold, I just mean you don't want the oil to drop below about 350 degrees because just as you don't want something to burn, when it comes to frying, if the oil's not hot enough, it'll actually sink and seep right into the food that you're frying, resulting in something really greasy. And that's obviously not what we want. So you just want to make sure you maintain the 350-degree temperature. And of course, the best way to do that is to simply use a thermometer. But I usually just eyeball it, and I can tell you how to do that. So to eyeball the oil temperature, you simply want to drop just a little bit of batter into the oil when it is shimmering hot, like in the photo a few slides back. And if it starts to bubble and cook right away without burning, then you're good to go. And you can always regulate the heat depending on how much food is actually cooking in the pot or pan at any given time. The more food in the pan, the lower the temperature will be. So just keep an eye on things and use your gut and you'll be just fine. I know deep frying can come with a little bit of intimidation. I totally get that, but I think it's worth trying. It's really not hard. You just kind of have to get over that fear of cooking with hot oil, and you'll find that you can create some of the most delicious foods to ever come out of your kitchen. This recipe is pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions, of course, as always, just hit me up, let me know, and I'm happy to help.